And we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rosicle. I'm one of the hosts here at the channel. My name is Nathaniel. I am joined off to the side by my co-host, Ashley. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
There she is. I don't know if you guys can hear her. I don't know how well you guys can hear me. We're both a little under the weather. She's further than I am, but I'm also still struggling. So if our voices sound extra raspy or we have to cough or whatever it might be, bear with us. The show must go on. Exactly. We're surviving. We're making it. Okay, so what's going on today? Well, we are talking about the PlayStation Secret Lair. So we told you guys we'd make another video about this before the drop. Turns out it's going to come out at the drop. We might have this come out a little early just so that it comes out before the drop, but it probably won't make it to a ton of people for the drop, but either way, we still wanted to make it. So the full, complete super drop has now been revealed for PlayStation, so we've talked about it a little bit. We want to make a video talking about the prices. How is it worth it? Is it bad? Is it good? I mean, obviously, we can't give you great financial advice when there's mechanically exclusive cards. We don't know how much they're going to be worth, but we can give you our best advice, and we can also talk about whether or not we plan to pick them up. So that's exactly what we plan to do in this video. I realize my necklace is backwards, so we're going to shoot. Great. All right, here we go. What's going on, everybody? Oh boy. Quickly, before we jump into things, if you haven't enjoyed, if you've been enjoying the channel or you enjoyed the video or anything like that and you want to support us, likes, comments, subscriptions, any and all of it's greatly appreciated. And the channel's been kind of blowing up lately. We had let's see, what was it, maybe 3 or 4 days ago? Maybe it was a little more, 6 days ago, something like that. We had a video blow up crazy like crazy. It hit just shy of 4,000 views, which for us is insane. We got like 40 subscribers off of it, so thank you guys for being so awesome. We're gonna keep making these videos. I mean, we didn't do anything particularly crazy in that. I mean, that video was literally me sitting out there in our living room talking about some of the problems with Magic. But you know what, here we go, another Magic video. I guess there's a lot of news. Okay, so first things first, we're not really going to cover this, but I will mention it. You do get a special, I forget the name of the game, if I'm being honest with you, but Sweet Tooth, which is like the ice cream truck thing. It's in Rocket League, I know, but it's not from Rocket League. I'm not an old enough PlayStation fan to really get this reference, but I've seen it enough to know that it's a PlayStation reference. You do get this as a soul ring, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing like ring themed about it, in my opinion, so I don't know. I feel like they could have done better. There's got to be something that could have been a better ring reference in PlayStation, but whatever. This is if you spend, let's see, at least $200 on specifically Super Drop products. So this is only for every $200 you spend on PlayStation Super Drop products. We will not be getting one of these soul rings. We do not plan to spend that much money on these drops. So we wanted to start with that. Okay, so first and foremost, we have the Secret Lair, The Last of Us Part 1. We have Ellie Brickmaster. We have Joel Resolute Survivor. And then we have Cabal Ritual as Cordyceps Excision. And Haunted One as Haunted One. So what are we seeing here? Well, our two commanders are mechanically unique. We did pull up a Reddit post that we think is pretty good about breaking down the numbers, and it's going to effectively say new cards, the conservative amount you can imagine they're going to be is about 8 to 10. The moderate amount that you could expect them to be might be closer into the 20s. Sometimes they go even higher than that. Obviously, if you think one of these drops is going to be some crazy value, pick it up. I hope you make money off of it. I hope you have a great time playing those cards and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, I've read these cards. I don't imagine too many of them are going to break past that expected 10 to 12-ish threshold. Although I do imagine most of them will hold up to the 8 to 10. So here we have Distract the Horde. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, that player creates a tapped 1/1 black fungus zombie creature token named Cordyceps Infected that's attacking that opponent. And then whenever a creature token dies, notably not just yours, put a +1/+1 counter on Joel and draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, what's the catch here? Encourage people to attack other people, get a Cordyceps that probably gets blocked and killed, so then Joel gets pumped up. What's the real benefit here? You could do sack outlets to pump Joel to draw cards, but it only happens once per turn, so you have to spread out your sacking over multiple turns. Okay, fine. It's a perfectly fine red, green, and black would be Jund, right? Jund commander partner combo. But I don't imagine, didn't mean to do that. I don't imagine that either of these are going to get crazy expensive. They're not super powerful. They're not super powerful problems. I would like to point out here, and I saw this in other videos, but I just have to send my 2 cents on this as well. As a big PlayStation fan and a big fan of The Last of Us, haven't played the second one yet, but I've played the first one a bunch. Cordyceps aren't zombies, and it does inherently bother me that they made them zombie tokens. I understand that for mechanical reasons, they need it. It helps if they fit into the tribe because they're more likely to get played, and they want these cards to be played in decks that benefit from having a zombie enter, or benefit from having a zombie die, or attack, or whatever it might be. But they're not zombies. So the game lore, they came out and said they are not zombies, right? They're infected bodies, but whatever, it's fine. All right, that's not the big deal. Cordyceps Excision's fine, right? Cabal Ritual is a perfectly good card. I will be referencing... Actually, we might even be able to just... Can we... Is this going to work? What if I do that? That didn't end up... Well, maybe. Aha! The more you know. Right? Okay, so we can see here that... Cabal Ritual is definitely the big hit here as a $12.30 non-foil, $26.18 foil, which, I mean, hey, you know, if you need one, that's good. But to be fair, you're really only playing this specifically in a deck where you're going to hit Threshold, and you can turn 2 mana into 5 mana, right? That lets you make a really big turn play, and suddenly you're ahead on board than everyone else. Haunted One is also a really good enchantment background for... Commander, and I don't know how many reprints it's seen. I know that it is in the Captain Ingathrod precon, so I do have one of them, but it is pretty cool to see it also here at $7.05. So assuming a price of $10, because I think that's a little more fair just because PlayStation is popular and people are going to want these cards, I think, more than, you know, say like Furby or something like that. I do think the IP has more of a niche than that. A stronger niche rather than a smaller niche. So I'm going to say $10 for these cards. They don't like make me think that they're going to be crazy valuable. So this would come out to about $39. You're paying $40 for it. You're probably going to sit at $39. But remember, that's not a guaranteed $39, and you're also not getting a ton. Maybe they'll put some value on the Cordyceps Infected just because it's the only way to get that token. But also, you're going to need more tokens than just one Cordyceps Infected token. So, like, they could have thrown in at least a couple for you here. It kind of frustrates me. Like, is it that hard to say, hey, it comes with 4 tokens instead of 1? Because you're going to make quite a few of them. And it's even worse in the next drop, which we'll see in a second. If I had to give this a rating from, like, I don't know. What should we rate it from? 0 to 10? You could, yeah? Yeah. Okay. I couldn't tell if you were nodding or not. No, it's okay. She can't really talk right now, or at least she shouldn't talk right now because she's been really sick and it's probably hurting her throat. Okay, so we'll do 0 to 10. I personally think that this lands probably around like the 5-ish category for me. It's fine. If these are cards you wanted anyways, then go ahead and pick it up. But if it's not, it's probably not really that worth it. All right, moving on. We have The Last of Us Part 2. We have Abby, Merciless Soldier. We have Ellie, Vengeful Hunter, and then Ellie's Rage, Cordyceps, Rat King, and then another Cordyceps Infected token. Now, when you cast this spell for Abby, create a number of 1/1 black fungus zombie creature tokens named Cordyceps Infected equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Abby enters under the control of an opponent of your choice. That's a problem, in my opinion, because it only comes with 1 token. You're guaranteed to cast this basically for 3, at least the first time, and you don't even get 3 infected tokens. Does nobody else see that as a problem? Anyways, perfectly fine. Nothing too crazy. Then you have Ellie, pay 2 life, sack another creature. Ellie deals 2 damage to target player and gains indestructible until end of turn. Notably, that's an activated ability. Also notably, that is not something that you, what was I going to say? Not something that's limited per turn. So I do think pay 2 life, sack a creature, deal 2 is going to be a very powerful ability. I don't know enough of like the Rakdos sack outlet world to know how powerful it is where that sits in there, but I can't imagine having 2 equivalent like Blood Artist, and then Vengeful something else. Vengeful Blood Witch. Thank you, my love. She's incredible, guys. Anyways, or those style of effects where it's like when a creature dies, an opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. Well, in 2 of those effects, this effectively has become you lose no life, sack a creature, a target opponent loses 4. And then very quickly, if you have something that can get creatures back or that can give you a lot of creature tokens or something like that, you can just basically sit there with a, hey, I could kill anybody kind of card. Be like, I mean, this is instant speed, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you go, hey, you try to kill me, I instant speed activate this, let's say you have 2 of those effects, 10 times, you're at 40 life, you're just dead, right? So I could see her having a lot of value. Ellie's Rage is Dictate of Erebos, which is not that crazy of a card, in my opinion, but it is one of the more popular and very expensive sacking cards, right? So this says whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. There's a lot of effects like this. I want to say another one's called like Grave Pact. Again, I don't play this deck. Snoop, if you ever see this video, help us out in the comments below because you play this style of deck. Obviously, yours is black and blue, but you get the gist. However, okay, it is a very good card. This actually isn't the card I was thinking it was when I said it was bad. This one's actually pretty good. I was thinking of Whip of Erebos or something like that. That's later on. No. Dictate of Erebos is actually really good. Because this is, like I said, it lets you wipe out somebody else's board while you're getting benefit for sacrificing your creatures. And you're sacking things that don't even matter. And they're having to sacrifice things that are very important. And you can flash it in. So it's really powerful. Especially because it doesn't say whenever a creature you control is like sacrificed, right? So if somebody's trying to cast a one-sided board wipe, you could always flash this in and just be like, nah, buddy, we all sacking all our creatures now. But anyways, I just think that's fun. So that's a really cool reprint. Honestly, I think this one, if I had to get one of the Last of Us ones, I'd be much more on board getting this one just because Dictate of Erebos is a really good card. And Ellie Vengeful Hunter seems like it's going to be pretty powerful. I might even say, I would be willing to say that card's probably going to climb higher than 10. But again, I make absolutely no promises. Last, we have Mycolith, which is not that great of a card. It doesn't have a lot of prints as far as I'm aware. It is a cool version of it, but $3.14 for non-foil. It is expensive for foil just because I assume it hasn't been printed a lot in foil. But yeah, if you're going for the non-foil, obviously a lot of these, I guess I should be talking about the foil version. So if you're going non-foil, we're looking at about $39 again. I do think it'll creep a little over that $40 mark just because of Ellie Vengeful Hunter, but I make no promises. And then if you're looking at the foil version, you're seeing about $65 or $67, but that could tank just because it is relying on things that haven't seen a lot of foil printing before. If I had to give this one a rating, I do think we're sitting more in like the 6 or possibly 7, trying to separate those numbers as much as I can for my sanity. Range, what? I'm a middle school teacher. I hear those numbers all day, every day. But yeah, somewhere in that range, maybe 6.5, something like that. Okay, moving on. We have the first God of War one. This is the God of War Greek. So here we have a triple red legendary creature, God of War 2/3. Double strike, all creatures have haste, and then at the beginning of each player's end step, he deals damage to that player equal to the number of creatures that player controls that didn't attack this turn. So what is his goal? His goal is just everyone swings everything, and I'm going to ping you if you don't. I think that's a really mechanically fun mono red card. I'm not going to lie. I really do. So that part's interesting. Now, what else do we see here? Well, we see World at War, which is fine. Again, it's not apparently really seen much of a foil printing before, so that's got a ton of value. We're looking at about $6 in non-foil value. Then we have Rite of Flame as the Blades of Chaos Bond. I should say the first one was Battle of Olympus. This is add 2 red, then add a red for each card named the Blade of Chaos Bond in each graveyard. Again, this is a good card, and it definitely took over some formats, but that format definitely wasn't Commander because you can only have one version of the card in Commander. So while this is a flavorful card, you're not going to get anything out of this. This is a 1 mana... This is a 1 red mana, add an additional red mana card in Commander. It doesn't see play, and if you throw it in the deck for play, it's just weaker than other things you could put in the deck. So not a huge fan of that one. Sulfuric Vortex as Hades Grip. Looks like it. Let's see. We got at the beginning of each player's upkeep, this enchantment deals 2 damage to that player. If a player would gain life, that player gains no life instead. Cool. All right, so it shuts off life gain. I mean, that probably is playable, and if you have ways to increase non-combat damage, that can get pretty powerful. But it does do that to everyone. And then last but not least, we have Pyrohemia. I think I'm saying that right, as Kratos' Rage. 2 and 2 red. At the beginning of the end step, if no creatures are on the battlefield, sacrifice this enchantment. You can pay a red. It deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Again, very powerful. If that 1 damage can be turned into 4 and you can just start pinging people and keeping this around because there's a big enough creature for it not to die. Very powerful, and rightfully so, right? Like, this is $10 because it's a powerful card. It's like $59 for the foil, supposedly, because it's first foil reprint, right? That being said, that's where we tend to see the price drop a lot, so be wary. Now, I do think this is a really mechanically fun commander, so I would personally say it's probably going to go above 10 as well. However, if we're looking at it being about $10, this is about $30 worth of cards. And, notably, Rite of Flame is not a card that you should be playing in this deck. It's just bad. It's just not good, right? Like, it wants other versions of the card, and you don't have other versions of the card. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on that subject. So personally, I should say foiled, this one has a lot of value because of cards that haven't seen a lot of foil reprinting. So there is that. The foil here is sitting at like 110, which is really good, but I don't know if it'll keep that value because, of course, when something gets a foil reprint and it's never had one before, we do tend to see a lot of those prices go down. Where does this land for me? I think it's probably around the 5 category as well. We're not getting absolutely ripped off for our money. Look at like some of the Furbies. I mean, do you remember what the worst Furby was? It was what, like 7? She's pulling it up. Huh? I'm entertaining the masses. The worst one was really bad, and she's going to have the number for us in just a second. So like I said, personally, I'm giving this like a 5 out of 10. I should say, which... $10.47? $4.47? $4.47. Disgusting. Okay. I did say that we'll talk about like which ones we're planning to pick up, so we'll do that at the end. All right, Secret Lair, God of War, Norse. So here we have Atreus, Impulsive Son. We have Kratos, Stoic Father as 2 mechanically unique cards. Then we have Mimir's Ancient Wisdom as Teferi's Ageless Insight. It is a double-sided card if you want to have him either on like in the tree or on the belt. And then we have Freya, Queen of the Valkyries as what is this one? Iroas? I don't know enough about Magic to know who that is, but God of Victory as Freya, Queen of the Valkyries. Cool. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. Now, let's read what these do. We've got a reach 2/4, 3-mana tap, draw a card for each experience counter you have, then discard a card. Atreus deals 2 damage to each opponent. Notably, you need to run this with Kratos. you have to because his partner is father and son. But also, it does nothing until Kratos has some experience counters, right? Like, I don't love that as an effect because you don't you're going to want to cast this one first, probably. It's your Izzet, and it's cheaper, but whatever. Whenever you attack with one or more gods, and whenever a god dies, you get an experience counter. At the beginning of your end step, put a number of +1/+1 counters on target creature equal to the number of experience counters you have. Now, notably, if you can get a lot of experience counters, which I do think... I think the experience counters go to you. They're like poison counters. So very quickly, you could get this to add up. You could get Atreus' ability to be 3 mana, draw 3 or 4 or 5 cards in not that crazy amount of time. Because it is whenever you attack with one or more gods and whenever a god dies. It does not say you can only trigger this once per turn. So if you attack with 3 or 4 gods, if you attack with like 2 gods and then 2 of them die, and then later 2 of them die, and then you attack with one more god somewhere in between, you have gotten 5 experience counters. And now Atreus' ability is 3 mana, tap him, draw a card, draw 3 cards, right? And you only have to discard 1 card. So it is effective card draw. This is a fun, this looks like a fun, I don't even know what red, blue, and I should. Jeskai. I think I said this one was Jeskai earlier, but it's Izzet. Anyways, this is a fun Jeskai like combination. Don't get me wrong. I think it is, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I definitely think that Kratos is really strong, but he has almost no payoff for the experience counters. But then Atreus is really powerful if you have experience counters, but has like... So I don't know. Maybe that's good partner design. If they're both like kind of crappy, but together they're really good. I feel like that might be an argument for good partner design. Anyways, I think they're fine. There's nothing crazy. We'll probably stick them around that 10-ish area. Then we have Mimir's Ancient Wisdom, which is the reversible Teferi's Aethos Insight. We're looking at about $2 for that. Now, obviously, it will probably hold more value. I should mention that all of these versions of the cards will likely hold more value than their normal versions just because they are PlayStation themed, but sometimes that's not the case, so you really never know. Then last, we have Aroas, God of Victory as Freya, which is sitting around like $13. What does that one do? I should say, Mimir's Age of Wisdom says whenever you would draw a card except your first one, draw 2 instead, which is really good, right? Because now Atreus, if you can get him to like draw 3, now he's draw 6. That's extremely powerful. Don't get me wrong. I do think together they're a really strong combo. Then we have Freya, like I said, indestructible. As long as your devotion to red and white is less than 7, it isn't a creature. Creatures you control have menace. Prevents all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. That's very powerful in this deck as well. I'll agree. Because that means you can attack in, get the experience counters, draw a whole bunch of your deck. I mean, you could probably even put in things here that are you could put in some pretty powerful stuff in this deck. I like this one a lot, I'm not going to lie. My personal feelings just reading it make me want to rate it higher, but I have to admit that the actual value in the cards is pretty low. I imagine we're not going to see these sit much higher than 10, so we're looking somewhere around the $34 to $35 range. If getting these versions of this card and playing Atreus and Kratos is worth a $5 dip for you, that's great, but I have to be unbiased in the rating that I give this. Right now, I think this one is probably value-wise tied for the worst or a little worse than so far, so I'm going to give it about a 4.5 out of 10. Is it Furby? No, it's not like a 1 or a 0 out of 10, but it is pretty bad, I'm not going to lie. All right, moving on. Here we have Uncharted. Oh, I should say, I didn't even look at the foil. Foils look pretty good. There's a lot of first-time foil reprints, so we could see that go down, but maybe it's a little bit better if you're on the foiled side of things. I don't know. Do we even consider buying foiled? Like, I don't know. We haven't really thought about buying things in foil. Maybe there's a good reason to, but I mean, we might buy the Play-Doh one in foil, but that's kind of just so we can give more to charity. All right, let's do this thing here. All right, Nathan Drake. Here we go. He is a... oh boy, Grixis, I think, like Theft Commander, which isn't anything too crazy, right? We've seen that a lot. 3/2 first strike. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast spells that you don't own or activate abilities of permanents you control but don't own. Whenever Nathan Drake attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. You may cast a spell from among those cards. Pretty good. It obviously isn't anything too crazy, but it is pretty good. Now, here is where we see, Whip of Erebos is what I was thinking of earlier. It's not as good. I mean, it's still fine, but it's not as good. We have Midnight Clock, which is a fun effect that effectively is just going to draw you another hand of cards if it can get to 12-hour counters on it. It's a relatively expensive mana rock that has some upside later in the game. And of course is much more beneficial with multiple opponents because you can get to the 12 faster. So it's fine, but it's not worth anything. Look at this, 28 cents, you know? Is it thematic? Yes. Is it worth anything? No. Whip of Erebos as El Dorado Sarcophagus. This one's a little bit better, but like I said, I don't love it. 4 mana, creatures you control have lifelink. You can pay 4, tap it to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step if it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Okay, so you can 4 mana return something for a turn. You can get good ETB effects off of this, and you can, I mean, it does give your creatures lifelink, so that part's nice, but like, you have to have the good ETB effects for this. I don't know. Is it even that flavorful in this? Like, it's flavorful just because it's a legendary enchantment artifact? Is that what we're doing here, people? I don't know. Chain Reaction as Chain Reaction, which is deals X damage to each creature where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. This is just kind of a bad board wipe, right? Let's see. This is 4 mana, probably wipe out everything because of damage. Isn't Blasphemous Act just better, right? That's going to typically be like 1 red mana. If this is enough, if there's enough creatures to kill everything on the board, Blasphemous Act would just be 1 red. So this is just a crappy include. Yeah, it's 25 cents. Jesus, that's disgusting. All right, then we have Passionate Archaeologist as Passionate Archaeologist. Now this one hasn't seen a ton of reprints and is a pretty popular card. Commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. Is it good? Yes, I think so, for being relatively cheap. But I just don't like. I don't know. It's where all the value is coming from this, but there's something about the two includes that are less than 50 cents and then like really banking on a card that hasn't seen a lot of reprint that I think will drop a good bit and isn't really necessarily even like, I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken, but is Uncharted the most popular PlayStation IP? I mean, I've played the games, but I feel like I don't know them nearly as well as most of this other stuff, but I don't know, whatever. If I had to give it a rating, I'd say this one is, we are sitting at $39, maybe, but I don't love how a lot of it's in this, and I do think Nathan Drake is likely to be one of the cheaper ones in terms of how much he holds as individual value. So I will say it probably lands around the 5-ish area for me as well. Nothing too crazy. All right, let's get into Horizon. Here we go, into the Forbidden West. We have Aloy, Savior of Meridian, 3 and a Simic. Vigilance Reach 3/5. In you, all things are possible. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attacks, discover X, where X is the greatest power among them. Okay, pretty good effect. We have Farseek, which is a pretty good ramp card. I mean, it's not expensive, but it is a pretty good ramp card. Yeah, we're looking at 40 cents non-foil. That's gone down a lot. Then we have Blightsteel Colossus as FASBOR7 Horus, or I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but sure, it's one of the Horus machines. I think, obviously, I don't have to tell you guys why Blightsteel Colossus is a valuable card. Obviously, we're looking at almost $40 just for the Blightsteel Colossus. And I do think Aloy has a cool enough effect for artifact creatures that she'll probably at least hold up to $10. Then we have Tarian's Soul Cleaver as Regala's Wrath, which is basically Aloy's Bow. I don't love this as an effect for Aloy's Bow because I don't really know if this does anything. I mean, it's fine in the deck, but I don't think it's great in the deck. I would have loved something a little bit more impactful as what she has, and maybe even a little bit more flavorful. And then we have Meteor Golem as Thunderjaw, which I think is fine, but of course Meteor Golem is one of those includes. I mean, it's the least expensive card on this list. It's a 6-cent card. It was printed at uncommon in Foundations, right? Like, this is nothing crazy. So the same criticism I had to give the last one, I have to give even more so for this one, because it is truly relying on the value of one singular card. However, I will say that that value and that card has shown that it's going to continue to have value for a very long time. It has never been, in my time playing Magic, to my knowledge, really ever below like $30. So you are pretty comfortable saying, I'm pretty comfortable saying this set, regardless, even though it is relying on that one card, is probably going to be about $42. That being said, or more. That being said, if you're not interested in getting a Blightsteel Colossus, or you have no interest in buying Horizon-themed cards, it's probably not worth it. Just go buy yourself a normal version of Blightsteel Colossus, or, like I said, if you're not interested in that, you're not getting anything else out of this set, right? Like, Farseek, 40 cents. Thunderjaw, 8 cents. Regala's Wrath for Tarian's Soul Cleaver, I don't know. What is it? $2. Not that worth it, okay? So, yes. If you are wanting the Horizon cards, this one probably will have its value, but again, its value is in one card. And they actually don't give you a ton of great things here, right? So, I mean, Thunderjaw is fine as Meteor Golem, but again, like, it's a high mana value, like, low power creature. I need high power creatures to get a good discover off of my ability. Okay, whatever. Personally, I like this one more. I do think that I'm happy that they're including more value, even if it is in one card, so I will give this a higher rating. That being said, it's not going to be a super high rating. I'd give this about a 7.5, right? Because you are supposedly going to get your money's worth, and you're getting some cool flavor for your cards. Somewhere around the 7.5, maybe 8 range. The foil's fine as well for value, but nothing too crazy. Now, the foil in this one's insane. So take this one with massive grains of salt. So we have an Esper Commander here, Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima. I have not played Ghost of Tsushima, but I've heard wonderful things. Whenever Jin deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Great. Whenever a creature you control attacks a player, if no other creatures are attacking that player, choose one. It gains double strike until end of turn. It can't be blocked this turn. Now, notably, if he's not going to be blocked anyways, you can choose Double Strike on him and draw 2 cards. If he's going to be blocked, you can choose the one that he can't be blocked this turn, and now you at least still get to draw a card. I think he's a pretty cool commander. 4 mana, consistently draw at least an extra card or 2 each turn. I like that. Also, you can build around an Esper idea of getting damage through and hitting opponents because you can do this for each creature that is attacking a different player. So if Jin's attacking one player and another creature is attacking a second player and a third player, you can do it for all three of them. So that's nice. I do like the idea that we've gone from like attacking with just a single creature to attacking with one creature per opponent. I think that's a really cool flavor direction. However, there's a lot of cards and a lot of effects. I can't think of them right now, but there's one of them. I mean, you had a card in your deck that was like clues give this effect, where like if a creature attacks on its own. I don't remember the name of that effect, right? But there's a lot of effects in Magic that are like if a creature attacks on its own, which you're not going to get if you're building this in the direction where you do one creature for each opponent. So you got to play around that. Now, are these cards flavorful? Yes. Are these cards good in some instances? Yes. Are they valuable? Absolutely not. Path to Exile, 77 cents. Boo. Born Upon the Wind, $2.49. Not really fine. Not even good, honestly. Ghostly Flicker, 79 cents. And last but not least, I don't even know how to pronounce this one. Iganjo Castle as Castle Shimura? I don't know. This one's worth a little something at $12.03, but there are other legendary lands you could have printed if you wanted to give this thing value. This one has a total reprint value of probably, I don't even think Jin Sakai is going to be that expensive, but let's just say it's $10, $26. This one is by far the worst in my opinion. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10, okay? It's not ripping you off as bad as we've seen, so it's not in the 0 to 1 range, but this one is not good. Not good. Probably doesn't even deserve the 3, if I'm being honest with you. But that's where it's at. Okay, so what are our kind of final opinions? Generally speaking, this is not the worst Secret Lair drop I've ever seen, but it's also definitely not the best. They're relying pretty heavily on the IP, and they do, understandably, think that it's going to sell cards, and I think it probably is. I think by far the most popular one is going to be the Forbidden West one. It's the one that we're interested in buying. Will we get in to buy it? Probably not, but we'll do our best, right? We do plan to try to pick this one up. What else might we try to plan to pick up? I don't really know. I'm looking at these. There is really nothing that calls my name. For my personal attachment to the characters, I'd say that the God of War Norse one is one that we would be more likely to pick up just because I think the characters are cool. And I like the God of War games, the remakes. I didn't play the originals, okay? However, this is not a good value. I'm not telling you to pick this up at a good value because it's not. Other than that, if I wanted to pick something up for value that I thought could be pretty good, I think my next best bet would probably be The Last of Us Part 2. I think Dictative Erebos is a very good card. I think Ellie Vengeful Hunter is going to be very useful in just Rakdos sacrifice decks in general. So all of that being in this one, I think is probably pretty good. Abby, I could care less about, and Michael, if I could care less about. But I think these two cards are pretty strong. And for $40, I'm like, is it a good deal? No, but I do think it's probably the next best deal. Generally speaking, if I had to give the entire Super Drop a rating, it gets a mediocre, probably about 5 out of 10 for me. I think it could have been worse, but I also think it could have been a whole lot better. I would have loved to see a whole bunch of Horizons Forbidden West equivalent Secret Lair drops here, and we did not see that. So that's where we land. We want to know where you guys land in the comment section below. So leave a like, comment, subscribe, any and all of it's greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, please let us know. If there's things that you think we could do better, please, please, please let us know. We are learning here on YouTube. We are getting better at this day by day, but we are learning. And more people are showing up and giving us tips and helping us out. So thank you guys for being so awesome. We look forward to seeing you whatever comes next. That's all we have for you in this one, though. So until that next video, may those rolls be ever in your favor. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye, y'all.